5 minutes, that my whole yard would fill up with Denton Police Department cars, and I'd be hauled off and maybe never seen again, which is exactly what should happen. But if I was a teacher at a junior high school here in Denton and did the exact same thing,
you'll be applauded.
Planned Parenthood would be backing me all the way to the Supreme Court.
Right.
It's unbelievable. Speaking of unbelievable, these things really have not much to do with abortion, if anything. To see how far, though, abortion is part of this thing of what we've talked about many times, where we've just lost our moral compass and our minds. We've lost our minds in this country.
Yeah.
Under the new budget, the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, which is a part of the National Institutes of Health, our federal government, is now,
You can't even say it.
I can't even say it. Our country's broke and getting broker every day as we have this Marxist president who's spinning us into oblivion. Part of the money that he's spending, $2.6 million US are going to go to train Chinese prostitutes how to drink responsibly on the job.
What?
Who put this in the budget? What congressman put that in the budget? Because I think we need to call them.
The grant made last November refers to prostitutes as female social workers, or FSWs.
Are they community
And
organizers too?
and their handlers as gatekeepers.
Handlers?
Handlers.
You know what we call those in America? Pimps.
Now, think about something, though. Listen to what I just said. Made last November. This was under the Bush administration. Think about it.
So this is a done deal. This grant has already been issued.
It's already been given.
$2.6 million.
Well, it hadn't been given yet. The money is in the budget now.
Okay.
But the grant was issued during the Bush administration.
And isn't this to help cut down sexually transmitted diseases so they can drink
Are
responsibly?
we responsible for the sexually transmitted diseases of Chinese prostitutes?
Chinese
Drinking on the job?
they're not
in
interested
China,
In China.
or sex trafficked women.
They're not
here.
interested in the
this is
prostitution. They're
going-
only interested in the alcohol abuse.
This is going to Chinese prostitutes in China. We're going to pay to train them how to drink responsibly on the job.
Don't drink and drive.
It's unbelievable.
And don't smoke either.
And nobody
the
stopped
problem-
it. Did it just slip
the thing
through?
about
The
it-
problem is these administrations get in there and they do not change out the entire leadership staff. You had a woman running the FDA under Bush that was appointed by Clinton. Bush let her in, and she's responsible for RU486 and all these terrible things.
Right.
You need to go in there and completely
Clean
clean
house.
house. I mean, fire every single, a political appointee and the civil appointee.
Not that
They
your
all need
current
to go.
president's going to make things any better.
No, I mean, as a former political appointee, I know. I mean, we were there, we were the pro-lifers, we've been signed by the president to work at our post, but yet it was filled, HHS, Health and Human Services, was filled with these pro-aborts that had been left over appointed by Clinton, but no one had really bothered to get rid of them. And that's exactly the problem. You have to clean house.
Here's another. Johnny, I don't know.
I mean, I'm thinking, who is the person that actually put that in the bill?
Congressman must
See
have
what
done
I'm
that.
saying?
So what
Whoever
congressman
that congressman, he needs to be voted out. He needs to be
Exactly.
exposed. Say, this is the turkey that's using your tax dollars to pay prostitutes.
To teach prostitutes in
To
China
drink.
how to
How to
drink
drink,
responsibly.
I think we need to research that.
Why haven't we heard about this on the news?
I don't
That
know.
here's where your money's going to.
I don't know. Here's another one your money's going to. New York, the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Community Center in New York sold scratch-off tickets to something they call the Black Party, which I don't know what it's called that, but anyway, that's what it's called. And it said you could become, you could be one of 10 instant sinners. Not winners, 10 instant winners. Anyway, this is a pretty bizarre event, apparently. And the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Center in New York is going to be a pretty... and they said it turned into an orgy. There were plenty of people the place was littered with enough condom wrappers and lube packets to wallpaper Yankee Stadium. That was one of the people who went in and saw it.
Now, this was a Planned Parenthood event?
No, it was not a Planned Parenthood event. I'm sure Planned Parenthood was there.
They were handing out the condoms.
It was there by, it was put on by ACT UP, Queer Nation, Lesbian Avengers, and the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. They were all the people who were involved
All
in
the
this thing.
perverts and reprobates, degenerates.
This center received $2,433,464 in government grants last year. to do this.
Hey, but that was less than the prostitutes in China.
Just slight. It's 2.6 million. This was 2.4.
Must be some orgy for $2 million.
And are you getting a $2.4 million check from the government for Life
Oh
Dynamics?
yeah, you bet. We're on that deal.
Yeah.
We're on that.
On the list.
We just got a few minutes here. I want to talk about something. I had a letter from a lady that watches LifeTalk. And she says, "Dear Mr. Crutcher, why aren't you exposing sex education in Catholic and Christian schools? No one can die. It's a root cause of abortion." And she's right. And we have talked about this. She may be a fairly new subscriber or something, but we've talked about this in the past. And there's two things that are happening with Christian schools as it regards this issue that I think we need to be aware of. And these are both things that, again, we've talked about extensively in the past. One of them is that some Christian schools, and even Catholic schools, and I'll give you an example of this in a minute, are getting sucked into letting Planned Parenthood come in and conduct their
Condoms on bananas.
and, well, the whole thing. And if you want to see how outrageous this gets to be, a few years back, I was asked to do a speech for a group down in Florida. And when I get there, they're all up in arms about something that's happened recently there. That it's an ongoing problem, and they brought me up to date on it. First off, the local bishop of their diocese had been given Planned Parenthood's Man of the Year award and had gone and accepted it. But one of the reasons that he would been given this, they had allowed, the diocese there had allowed Planned Parenthood to come in and put on their sex education. They became the one that the diocese turned over for all their Catholic schools, their sex education to. So Planned Parenthood to come in. Well, now you have all these Catholic parents that are saying, I don't want my child in that. The bishop ruled that the Catholic parents could not opt their children out of the Planned Parenthood sex education. These were Catholic parents, had their children in a Catholic school, who had to take them out of that school and put them in a public school because the public school would allow them to opt out of the Planned Parenthood sex education. So Planned Parenthood is going into a public school here, a private Catholic school over here, the same people, and the Catholic school would not allow them to opt out of it, but the public school would. I mean, this is the sort of things that are going on.
It's kind of like what they were trying to do with African American ministers. You know, the quote that you use when we talk about Mahafa, you know, let's get a couple of pastors who can sell this. And it's exactly what they're doing with the bishop.
contests.
They gave him this award.
Right.
And then, oh, by the way.
Why did I can see that the public school would have Planned Parenthood in, but why is the Catholic school even having Planned Parenthood
Well, they
there to
shouldn't
start
be.
with?
They shouldn't be.
See, my suspicion is that they have somebody in the Catholic hierarchy that shouldn't be there.
Right.
Literally.
Right.
I mean, they really shouldn't be there. And anytime you have a predator in a key position, you need to get rid of the predator.
Yes.
All the Catholic Church has to do is realize who invited Planned Parenthood in there. And that person
That's the one that's gotta go.
needs to be excommunicated, kicked out of the hierarchy, the whole works.
Right, exactly.
I'm serious. I got solutions today.
And by the way,
Come on,
but and let's make it clear, this is happening at Christian schools all over the country, not just Catholic schools. All kinds of Christian schools are doing these exact same things. And
for Christian schools, Mark, is even Bible says train up a child in the way. Now, that's a mandate to the Christian community.
not an option.
If we fail, somebody's going to have to answer God for this mess.
right.
And I am glad for those parents that did pull a child out, but I still say I am concerned that we're getting to the point where we are tolerating key people making bad decisions.
You know, I think it's part of a larger problem within the Christian community as a whole, that we do not recognize evil, okay? There's not a hell, there's not a devil, and there's not evil because we're all just nice. Can't we all just get along? You know, the Rodney King quote. There isn't an evil, but evil exists, and it permeates every aspect of our lives, our schools, it's television, entertainment,
Well,
everywhere.
It's what we see in popular modern Christianity. These
Right.
these speakers that come out and talk about living your best life, and they're completely, you know where I'm going.
Your best life today.
Yeah, your best life ever. But they completely fail to talk about that there are evil forces in this world, and
And
there
they
is
want
a
to
hell.
kill
Yeah.
children, and they want to infect us, and they want to steal our grace and joy.
And
But
make us
when the
accept
church
it all.
quits speaking about sin and quit speaking about
That's
evil,
right.
then you
That's right.
then you set
That's
this thing
absolutely
up.
Correct.
And the church has brought into this 60s philosophy, I'm okay, you're okay. You know, you whatever you want to do. If you're not with the one you love the one you're with, and all that.
Feels good, do it.
Right, and all that nonsense.
blah.
Yeah.
The church has bought into all that stuff, and these are the results of it. And I don't know how do we turn this thing around?
I know I
But-
had a good friend the other day tell me, and she grew up Methodist, and she said, well, I don't really know what I believe, but I'm a good person.
So
my
therefore-
living boyfriend's a good person, and I believe there's a God. I'm not real sure about this whole Jesus thing. I was like, so you're sort of Jewish now?
Right.
And she's like, well, no, I'm just, whatever.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, she's like, universal, everybody, I was like, what is got into you?
Oh, listen, we had a guy, we're out of time, I'll just do this real quick. We had a guy that used to work with us a long time ago. He didn't work for us, but he was a contractor with us on some animation that we did. And I was asking him one day, we were just having lunch, and I was asking him about his spiritual beliefs and the abortion issue and everything. He says, well, here's what I think about this abortion thing. He said, I'm really conflicted about it. And he said, on one hand, I think it is the taking of a life, and on the other hand, I think women have the right to do it if they want to, and so forth. I said, well, what is your spiritual background? Where do you come from this spiritually? He said, well, here's what I believe. He said, I believe that God creates souls, and they float around, and